All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you guys for joining us tonight for the tennis preseason webinar. My name is Melissa Anger, for those of you that don't know me. And we're going to go ahead and get through this. I'm going to try not to take up too much of your time, but please feel free to ask any questions that you may have. With me tonight, we also have Mike Zarnowski, who is our VP of Sports, as well as Steve is not on here, but we have a special guest, Jeff Abel, who is on the tennis resource team, I believe, for Special Olympics for SOI or SONA, one of the two. So when I get something wrong for the tennis rules, he will be there to correct me. So tonight we're going to go over this is an updated COVID protocol, some season stuff, some sports review. We'll open it up to some questions, and then we'll be done. I'm not going to go through all the resources. They're the same thing that we have every season, but I would encourage you to review those once the slides get sent out, just to refresh your memory. So I'm going to hand the talking over to Mike Zarnowski, and he's going to go over the updated COVID protocol for us. And I spelled COVID wrong.
Thank you, Melissa. Things definitely have changed, have dramatically improved since when we talked about this a year ago. Although things are still can be a little bit dynamic, so we wanted to give you a quick update on where we're at. As we continue to move along and able to return to a more typical situation, we're just thrilled that we're able to make some adjustments here. At the moment, and based on the protocols and such, we're not anticipating suspending in-person programming, which had been one of the phases a year and a half ago when these first rolled out. There may, however, depending upon where we are on a couple different metrics, there may be some variations in terms of implementation of masks or social distancing and such. We'll be utilizing to make those determinations a combination of the number of new cases per 100,000 people in the state of Maryland. Right now, or today, it was at 4.8. I think it's still the fourth best in the country out of state, so that's great. And then also, we may be looking at the percentage, or we will be looking at the percentage of people who are at a given program or a given event who are fully vaccinated. And we'll touch a little bit on that, on vaccination towards the, after we go through this next grid. So Melissa, if you wanna go to the next. So the somewhat simplified compared to before, we are looking at 3 different categories, and Maryland is right now very much in that low risk category. To be in that category, we have to have 10 or fewer cases per 100,000. And again, as I mentioned, we're at 4.8, or we need to have 80% or more of the participants at a given event fully vaccinated. Right now, we're not tracking vaccinations, but we will be making some shifts with that. When we're in that category, and we'll go into more detail in the next 2 slides, but we're in that category, the local regulations for event size and risk management and such are in place, but it is almost back to normal and things. So if the number of cases gets a little higher, and that we have fewer than or less than 80% fully vaccinated, then we'll go to that moderate risk, and we'll have some additional precautions such as mask distancing and so on down the line. Notice it doesn't affect event size or the number of people that we have and such. And then if we, hopefully we won't, knock on wood, ever get to the significant risk, which is where we have both 15 cases or more higher new cases per day per 100,000 and the lower than 80% vaccination, then we get into some size restrictions and such. So, but even in the more significant risk category, it's still somewhat more open, and in recognizing that people are vaccinated, and there's been progress toward in the overall situation. So Melissa, why don't we go to the next slide? I am not going to read these next 2 slides through you for you all the way through. Yeah, that's where we want to be. But we'll highlight a few things and then encourage you and we will certainly, if we are moving into a moderate risk or a significant risk category, we certainly will get with you and give you more information. One thing to note when we're talking about these percentages of 10 per, fewer than 10 per 100,000 or the, well, when we're talking about that one, we're talking statewide. We are not going with individual county by county tracking for that purpose, which makes things a little bit easier across the board as well. So as we mentioned, the event size is the same. Everyone, however, must complete the communicable disease waiver that was introduced in, I think it was March of this year. It is not the same form that was used at tennis last year. That was a thing called an acknowledgement of risk. Special Olympics adjusted what they wanted, and now we have this communicable disease waiver, which is probably going to be with us going forward. We're working on incorporating it into our medical forms and our volunteer forms, but for now, it's a separate document, and it's good for 3 years, or until the person turns 18 and becomes an adult, in which case they have to sign it again. It's very basic. It's a one-pager, at least the document is a one-pager that they would sign off and just acknowledging the risk there. But that's no matter what phase we're at, that's going to be a requirement. In terms of one-site screening and the low risk, we do not need to do screening. We certainly encourage, in fact, as a good general coaching practice, certainly hope you're capturing your attendance at each session and that type of thing, but the actual screening is not necessary. We do suggest having signs and such out, similar to what was used before, just reminding folks that it's good to wash your hands and distancing and such. Also, again, in the low risk category, if someone is tested as positive for COVID, whether or not they have had a vaccine, they need to be no participation within 10 days. And with that, they have to have 7 days without any symptoms at all. And if they're a participant, a competitor, they would need to get the medical clearance from their doctor or from their medical person for that. As far as masking goes, we'll follow local restrictions. So what you're hearing now from the CDC and such, where masks are required or recommended, no matter your vaccination status, if you are in a high incidence area or part of the country. For Maryland at the moment, that does not apply. We are not in that high incidence. Again, we're in a pretty good percentage thing there. If the state government implements a change, then we would be following that. But for right now, it is not required. That said, if you are fully vaccinated and you wish to wear a mask, or your athlete wishes to wear a mask, that's fine. That's totally up to you. And then in addition, if you are not fully vaccinated, a mask needs to be worn, except when you are participating in your exercise or in the training. That's similar to the mask requirement throughout this past year, where athletes and partners and such could take their mask off when they were training or actually engaged in the physical exercise. So, but if you are fully vaccinated at this point, no need to wear a mask, but you're welcome to if you wish to. And knock on wood, hopefully we won't get to the point where that changes. Melissa, you want to give the next slide? Thanks. So for social distancing, we want to encourage social distancing as much as possible outside of the sport activity. So, but within the sport itself. Probably doesn't have much effect on tennis singles, but in doubles, but also in skills in terms of handing the ball off and that type of thing. It's okay to get within 6 feet. Just outside of that, encourage folks to keep a distance just in general. When it comes to transportation, and what we're talking about here is giving rides or that type of thing. If we want to encourage the private transportation, so people transporting themselves, if it is transportation that is either provided or arranged by Special Olympics, then the folks in the car, everybody in the vehicle needs to wear a mask at that time, regardless of status. It's because of the enclosed space and such. But you can have, for every seat that's in the car or in the vehicle, you can have a person in that seat. I say that's either provided or arranged by Special Olympics. So if you, I don't know, some programs may do this. If you're arranging carpools or that type of thing, and it's something that Special Olympics itself is coordinating for that, that counts as arranged by Special Olympics. If two families are trading rides on their own, that's a different situation. Probably aren't going to deal with accommodations or housing in tennis, but in case you do, if folks are fully vaccinated, you can have up to 4 people in a room. Also, though, following Special Olympics housing policy, which is 1 person per bed and that type of thing. If 1 person is unvaccinated, then they either, the only person they can stay with is either someone who is vaccinated. So actually, Melissa, I didn't make the update on this version that Jeff had drafted. But for what the situation is, if there is one individual who is unvaccinated, they can either stay in a room with someone who is fully vaccinated or with people who they reside with or live with at home. They can't stay with another unvaccinated person, and unless they are people they live with in their own household, can't be more than a total of 2 people in that room. Spectators.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to ask, like not individually, but to the group, is everybody vaccinated?
Hold that thought. Okay.
Okay.
If you waited 1 more line, it would be a perfect segue to the next slide. I just have 2 lines to get through that. But thanks, Jackie. Great question.
I'll be a future thinker.
Okay. We actually want you to be using your psychic powers and determining. So, but anyhow, no, it's a great question. We'll get to that actually on the next slide. So, spectators, whatever the local regulations are, again, while we're in low risk, you can see some of the differences, and we'll advise you should we shift to need to shift to moderate or significant risk. And then meals, essentially, it's whatever we have been doing before. Just encouraging the organizing group to stagger meal time so you don't have a whole crowd in there, particularly when we're using an indoor facility. And of course, always just practice good hygiene, so on. Individual water bottles are helpful, so on down the line. So to get to Jack's question, so with vaccines, Special Olympics actually worldwide, but has determined that it will not institute a requirement to participate in Special Olympics or as a requirement that people have to be vaccinated. If you were vaccinated, you can participate. If you're not vaccinated, you can participate. It will change or it will vary whether, as you saw on the chart there, whether you're wearing masks when you are not in the sport activity or not. We'll have some new information going out to area directors either tonight or tomorrow, more likely tomorrow, that we will be tracking and collecting information on vaccines. We talked about this at our most recent area director meeting. We're getting a process together to go forward and do that. The reason that we're doing that is not to brand anybody or whatever, because it won't affect their participation level. But we do, if the number of the one metric of less than 10 per 100,000 people, if that gets close to 10, we want to be able to know, do we have 80% of the people participating being fully vaccinated? The only way to do that is to track it. So we will be sharing that right now, or in the next day or so, the process for that, and we will have some means to collect that information. So yes, it is permissible. That said, to ask if they have it. You can wait for right now because there'll be more stuff coming out, and within the next week it'll get out to the coaches, I think. But the individual status is also considered, though, private, so it's not something that we want to go out sharing with folks. And again, just reiterating what I said earlier, the vaccination status can't affect registration or waiting list or any of those types of decisions. It is not something that can cause a restriction in participation. Or being a member of that team, just what they're doing off the court or off the field. Okay. So that said, actually, just want to check, are there any other than, so Jack, did that answer your question for you?
Yeah, it did. I must admit, I think the majority of this is going to be brought upon by attending parents and their concerns for participants not being vaccinated.
Right.
So they may be the very ones asking the questions
Certainly.
of either the coach or individual participants.
If
Mike,
I
I
can
know
just
you-
jump in on that real fast, Jack, one of the things that's really important is, as Mike just said, even as we do start tracking, that is not information that can be shared with family members, right? And so we can't make, here's a court for the vaccinated and way down on court 10
Right.
are the unvaccinated athletes, right? It's everyone's kind of in it equally.
Yep.
Family members can't know outside of their own household and all that good stuff. So we'll know, but we can't share that info.
I know you said you'll be sending more information out, but I was just wondering, when we say tracking, are we going to have proof, or is it just let us know if you're vaccinated and that's enough?
Jeff and I had a meeting about that today, and I'm going to do a little song and dance and shuffle, and we're going to delay that until I actually have a draft of something that I need to review that Jeff put together. That and Jeff, you're looking to send that out to area directors tomorrow, right?
Yeah, all the area directors except for Nancy, we're going to get it tomorrow.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
If we can.
So,
Not a shock.
so yeah, it's not super secret. It's just we want to, out of respect for everybody. So, and we're going to try to make it any of the collecting the information as hassle-free and painless as we can. So just the 6-inch needles, I think, will be sufficient to do the testing. So anyhow, now that's all on the recording. Melissa, you have to edit all that out. Any other questions on the vaccine or the protocols and so on down the line? It really does open up. Again, for tennis, definitely for the team sports, it absolutely makes actually team sports possible. And while since he's here, because we wouldn't say that if he wasn't here, a big kudos to Mr. Abel, who has been leading Special Olympics Maryland's coordination. I am one of several people on the team that are working with him, but he's been the lead on this since March of 2020, and has really shepherded and led this whole thing extremely well. So kudos to Jeff. And with that, I'll still be here, but I'm gonna turn off my camera and we'll listen in.
All right, thanks, Mike. So we're gonna go ahead and go into the tennis season. We say this before every webinar, every preseason webinar. No athlete or volunteer can participate in any manner in a Special Olympics Maryland program without the valid medical and CDW form that Mike mentioned. And the volunteers cannot participate without all their certifications. There is absolutely no way around this. This is the policy. We got to stick to it. So this is just a little chart of what's required for each participant. We'll go into this a little bit more for some other slides, but I mean, you can see the only thing that's changed from the past years is the CDW form that has been added. Everything else has been the same for the last few years. So just some deadlines that everyone needs to know. Training registration deadline is August 30th, which is just where we have a list of everyone that is practicing and training. That does not mean that they're going to go to Fall Fest, but anyone that's practicing with you, we need their names submitted to your area leadership so that they can put them into GMS, which is our games management system, and have that ready to go in the training games. The last date for missing forms is September 8th. This just means that every athlete, every coach and volunteer, everyone that is participating, all of their paperwork and certifications have to be valid through October 16th, which is the date of Fall Fest. This is the last date that they can be submitted to the Special Olympics Maryland headquarters to be eligible for Fall Fest. So if someone's paperwork expires on October 1st, they have to have renewed paperwork by September 8th to be eligible. So anyone for that season has to be in by the 8th of September. The tennis ratings and the tennis intent form need to be due to me by September 10th, which is a Friday. I will send them to you with the follow-up email from this webinar so that you have them. We'll go over those in just a minute. Then the competition registration deadline. This is mostly for your area leadership, but this is where your athletes get put into their event that they're going to be participating in at Fall Fest. So whether they're unified doubles, level 4, singles, level 2, whatever it is, they need to be in GMS by October 1st. But again, you work with your area leadership and they will get them in. Again, it's kind of just like what I just went over, but it's working with your area leadership to make sure all paperwork is set, all certifications are set, everyone's in training, they get advanced properly and put into the events, into their proper events for Fall Fest. I'm not going to go through all of this, but it's all the same year after year. All the coaches must have the valid Class A volunteer application with the associated background screening, current protected behaviors, current concussion, as we mentioned, the CDW, which is new this year, started, I think Mike said in March, as well as coaching Special Olympics athletes. Head coaches have to have the sport-specific training as well as everything that was just mentioned. Everything on here is valid for a good 3 years. So if you renew it, you're good for 3 years. Work with your area leadership to see what you need if there is anything that you're missing. This is just a prettier diagram of everything that we kind of said already. Janet Larimore from Howard County created this for us a couple years ago, and just talks about the different requirements for each role. So coaches training. So thank you to Jeff Abel, who is working with Towson to have a coaches training on Sunday, August 15th at 9 a.m. This is tentative, but really likely to happen. Once I hear and we get confirmation, I'll send it out and send up the sign up as well. But remember, this will cover your sport specific training. If you have not taken coaching Special Olympics athletes, you will not get the sport specific training until you take coaching Special Olympics athletes. So you have to have that before we can update your sport specific tennis training. I'm not going to read.
Melissa, I'm sorry, just to clarify, you can take the sport specific course. You won't have your certification updated until you have you've completed the coaching Special Olympics athletes. So, but you can take the sport course. You don't have to hold off on taking the course if you can't do it by that date, the CSOA by that date.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. I'm not going to go through all this code of conduct. You guys know it, but I put it up here just as a reminder. Have respect for everyone, coaches, partners, other coaches, athletes, volunteers, everyone that's associated. Have respect. Make sure you have a positive experience. Act professionally. I mean, I don't really have to, you guys have been amazing with all this, but again, just want to make sure that we put it out there. So we say we did it. Please read through these and make sure all of your assistant coaches read them as well, just so that they're aware. Again, this is the last one, but like I said, just kind of go through these. But if we haven't any issues in the past, and knock on wood, I don't think we should have any issues coming forward. Looks like we had a chat. Oh. Thank you, Jeff. So qualifying competitions, you have to have ideally 2 or more area programs to qualify as a qualifier. We can also work to have an in-house qualifier where it's just your county program. Please have the sanction form submitted by your area director to SOMD headquarters to me at least 30 days in advance if you're going to host something. Let me know dates of your in-house if that's what you're going to do. But these are just the things that you need to have that, what a competition is, what a qualifying competition is. To qualify for Fall Fest, you have to meet all the training and registration requirements and deadlines. All the coaches obviously have to have all the certifications that we just went over. Athletes and unified partners have to have all their current certifications and medical. You must compete in a minimum of 2 section qualifiers. The in-house will count as one of your 2 qualifiers if you'd like. But again, you just have to let me know the dates. You have to keep score. There's specific things that you have to do for it to be a required or to be a qualifier. We are looking to have a tennis required qualifier. Right now, it's tentatively scheduled for October 2nd. That is a Saturday at Towson University. We're just waiting on confirmation again of the facility, but it looks really good that could be a required qualifier for all levels. It worked out really well in 2019 to have all the qualifier for just one day instead of having this county host this level, this county host this level, stuff like that. So it seemed to work better. And we got a lot of positive feedback to have everything on one day as a required qualifier instead of multiple throughout the season. If there's anything against that, please let me know. But anyone that's competing in Fall Fest, singles, doubles, individual skills, unified doubles, they all have to be at the required qualifier or they're not going to be eligible for Fall Fest. And they have to compete with if they're a unified partner, or they're unified doubles or traditional doubles, they have to compete with those partners at the required qualifier and at Fall Fest. You can't switch them up in between. At all the qualifiers, they have to be the same.
Melissa, let me just make one other. This was on the deadline sheet as well.
Mm-hmm.
What we're sharing here, and Melissa's doing a great job of getting the points across, is what we would be doing in a typical situation. We recognize that things are not 100% back to normal yet. If there is an issue or if there is a particular challenge that you have in meeting some of these requirements, can't say we can always adjust something, but talk to your area director. Your area director is the key person here, and he or she can make the decision as to whether to contact us about making some type of an adjustment or an exception for you. So just want to be sure that folks recognize that we're, even though we're giving you the deadlines and we're giving you all these requirements and such, we do recognize that the life is, or the situation is still dynamic. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So this is the tennis rating sheet. We need one of these filled out for each of your athletes and partners. From here, you'll send these all to me, one for each person that's going to be participating, marking off what level they are going to be participating in. This just gives us kind of a idea of how that we can do divisioning, stuff like that. It gives us an idea of scores so we can try to make the best divisions and matchups as we possibly can throughout the season. So this is one of the things that's due to me on September 10th. I know that doesn't give some programs a lot of time. I understand that. Please just, we'll do our best to try to work with it and try to get everything to me by the 10th. All right. So as mentioned, all the different levels, we have levels 1 through 5. Level 1 is individual skills that uses the red ball. Level 2 is match play with a red ball again, 42-foot court. Level 3 match play is a 60-foot court, which is the orange ball. We piloted this back, I think 2018 or 19. I think it was 18, and it went really well with the 2 counties that we piloted with. So 2019, we opened it up to everyone. And again, we're opening up to everyone again for to have level 3. It's a great in between red ball and green ball. Then we have level 4, which is the green ball on a full-size court, and level 5, again, full-size court with a yellow ball. For all the match play events, we have singles, traditional doubles, and unified doubles. So this is the tennis intent form, or the training intent form. This just gives me an idea of how many participants we have in each category. I asked for it on September 10th. I know that's a little early, but this helps me see how many we have in each category to see if there needs to be any shifts. Because obviously if we only have, say, one level 4 singles male, we have to figure out, well, should they play level 3 or level 5? And I would work with you to figure out the best way to do it. But we want to make sure your athletes all have competition. So getting this to me by the 10th really helps me to ensure that everyone has that competition experience. This is just an example of it filled out. I took this from a 2016 thing, so obviously level 3 is not on there, but it is offered. But this is just what it looks like when it's filled out. You can see that there's a couple in there that are one athlete or one unified double, where we would need to figure out the best scenario to put them in and the best opportunity for them to succeed. All right, so now we're going to get into the rule reminders. Again, I'm not going to read through each one of these word for word. They're all very similar to 2019. For the uniforms, obviously it has to be proper tennis attire, must be worn at all times. I know during Fall Fest, it could be pretty windy and chilly. I will work with you guys for sweatsuits, but they will be, there's certain requirements that have to be matched with that. And I can work with you guys as we get closer to the event to give you those exceptions that we'll make for that. Big thing is they have to match. They has to have something with their county name on it, preferably their uniform on the outside so that we can see and know who is who. Matches will consist of one tiebreak 6-game set using no ad scoring with a margin of 2 games with a 7-point tiebreak played at 6-all. So for someone that doesn't know tennis as well, that is a very confusing statement for me. You guys all know what that means, I'm guessing. Does anyone have any questions on that? This is why I have Jeff here, because I know what that means, because I know how we keep score and everything. This is confusing to me, so I just want to make sure everyone is set with what this actually means with playing the one tiebreak 6-game sets. No, okay, we'll keep going. The no ad scoring system we use for all match play. The first player or doubles to win 4 points wins the game. 7th point of the game is game point for that game. Easy enough for no ad scoring. Coaches on the court, we will allow one designated Special Olympics coach. They must be credentialed, which means they must be registered in GMS. They must have all their proper paperwork. If they do not have a credential, they will not be allowed on the court. We will ask them to leave if they are not fully credentialed. We will allow the one Special Olympics coach to sit on the sideline where each of their team is playing while the team is playing. The coach must stay off of the playing surface at all times. We'll have a chair next to the net opposite of the scorekeeper. Kevin keeps you away so you're not trying to get into the scorekeeper or anything like that. But you're there to help coach on the sideline, but we will allow one credentialed play coach or representative at each court for the match or for the game and match. A coach, you may coach a player when the player's change ends at the end of the odd game. You can't coach after the first game of each set and not during the tiebreak game. So there are specific times where you can and can't coach. Please follow this. If you do not, we will again ask you to leave the court. We have these rules in place for a reason. And we ask that you please follow them for us.
Melissa, can I just jump in real fast?
Go
on
for
that
it.
slide? Cool. So one clarification with no ad scoring, if you're playing unified doubles, at deuce, you will play athlete serves to athlete, partner serves to partner throughout so that there's no confusion there. And then coaching, not our tennis coaches, sometimes they are, but tennis coaches in general are notorious for cheer coaching, right? So standing on the sidelines, all right, keep those feet moving, let's go. Okay, keep your head up on that serve, right? Just because you're cheering and clapping doesn't mean that it's not coaching, right? So just be mindful of that. Save your comments till the changeovers. Keep cheering positive and keep the coaching for the changeovers.
Thanks, Jeff. Tiebreak procedure. So when there are two more athletes or teams, obviously it ended a tie. First, to break the tie, first you have the fewest number of sets lost in all the matches. So we look at all the score sheets and figure out the fewest sets lost in all the matches combined that they played. If there's still a tie after that, then we go to the most games won in all the matches. If there's still a tie after that, we go to the fewest number of games lost in all of the matches, which I know this is a lot, but we follow these in order. If there are still ties after that, it goes to head-to-head results. And there have been times where we've gone to that fourth tiebreaker. So we do follow this to get the awards for Fall Fest. Fall Fest is the only event where you will get awards or presented, but we do follow these in the order to break any ties. Are there any questions on the tiebreak procedure? Okay. And that's all I got. So we will pause for some questions.
Hi, this is Barbara Evans. I do have a question about the date. It's, you said the Fall Fest is October 17th, is that right?
16.
16th. So why is it,
16.
yeah, why is it so early this year? And it used to be, I mean, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, it used to be the last Saturday of October, and it seems to be progressively getting earlier and earlier.
So we typically have, the 8 years that I've been here at least, it's been the middle of the month. And then the last Sunday is always soccer. So we always give it at least a week break in between soccer and Fall Fest. But I know Mike can jump in and answer that a little bit better than I can.
Yeah,
It's definitely been at least the last 7 or 8 years that it's been towards the middle of the month. 16, I mean, sometime between like the 16th and maybe the 20th. But yeah, and that's built around our relationship with our host facility at Mount St. Mary's. But yeah, it's been a long while since it's been the last weekend.
Yeah, so it is typically the third Saturday.
Yeah.
So the first Saturday is the second, so second 9/16. And that was like 10 years ago that we switched that.
Yeah, and so is the soccer then the following weekend, the 23rd?
It is
Actually,
actually
this year,
Halloween.
yeah, this year's soccer's on the 31st.
And
Okay,
that's because of our relationship with Crown Sports Center where soccer is.
right,
It's always the last Sunday in October down there.
right, right. And we typically get questions from the parents about the timing, et cetera, because it does constrain the number of weeks that the athletes actually get to train. I mean, this year I'm really not that concerned about it because we'll see, but yeah, typically it does impact the level of training. So, all right, thanks.
Sure.
Hi, guys. I have one more like Frederick County specific question that I can save for like maybe at the end. But I just want to verify that people who are not going to participate in the Fall Fest can still go to all the qualifiers, right?
Yes.
And I can put them on my list, or you don't want them on my list. How do you want to? Because,
Don't put them on your tennis intent form
okay,
because that's going to be for Fall Fest.
okay.
And give me an idea. Just let me know on the side when you send that in saying I have these that will come to the qualifiers, but they will not be at Fall Fest. The intent form is only going to be those going to Fall Fest.
Make sure Ruth Vickers knows everybody who's participating because she'll need to register them.
Right.
Yeah,
In training, yeah.
Right, I'll make sure she does that. And then, is it possible? I know the answer to this question. Is it, so can at qualifiers, not at Fall Fest, can I have athletes participate in both singles and unified doubles for practice? Or is it just one or the other?
We're going to keep it at just one or the other.
Well, that stinks, but that's okay. Okay.
Well, Melissa, are you talking about anything that we're hosting or?
The required qualifier is just what you're going to participate in at Fall Fest. If your in-house ones, you can have them do both.
Okay.
We'll say
Right,
that.
yeah,
Okay,
or if
great.
somebody else is hosting, just check with them.
Right.
So if you're going to one, I don't know if Howard County is hosting something and invites you to it,
Yeah.
they're going to set what they can handle. And a lot of that's going to be courts time and so on down the line that's available.
Okay.
And I think I know why you're asking that because of the NIT guys, because they're going to be doing both, right?
Well, yeah, but we won't know until this weekend whether or not they're having it, right?
Yeah. So yeah, like Mike said, at your local in-house qualifiers, or if you're going to having other counties come to you, or you go to other counties for a qualifier, you can just double check and make sure they're okay with that. They have enough time and space, but at the required, it has to be what they're going to do at Fall Fest, which I know those two guys are not coming to Fall Fest, but for the required, we need to keep it consistent because they're going to be going at the same time.
Right.
So trying to schedule all that would be
Okay.
really fun.
And then is there a date that is there a date that we have to start or not start? Or is there like, isn't it like anytime after this? I've always thought anytime after we've been given this, presentation that we can start practice.
We've had counties start already. Just work with Ruth
Okay.
to get that
But
going.
we're
We
not
asked that-
starting till August 16th, but I just didn't know if like we had to start at a certain time.
It's a minimum of 8 weeks training. So kind of back that up 8 weeks, and
Yeah.
that's where you have to start, but you can start as early as you'd like.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then my last question is more county specific for the coaching thing. So I don't know if anybody else has any questions, and I can hold that one for at the end.
I have a question. I have a question about which counties are participating. Do you know
Sure.
at this point?
Yeah. As I know, it's Anne Arundel, Baltimore County, Howard County, Frederick County, Montgomery County, and Hartford County is new this year.
Thanks.
Sure.
I have a quick question. This is the first time I'll have coached tennis in terms of these competitions. And I've coached basketball though. And so I'm sort of trying to imagine in my mind for something like a doubles team with partners that like in basketball, there was sort of like a code that, you know, you try to distribute the ball, get the ball to the athletes and facilitate in that way and have good competition. But I can't imagine exactly how this works in tennis, and I didn't hear anything that was brought up. So that will just, yeah.
Yeah, we pretty much, you don't want the athlete or partner, either one, going in front of the other one to take all the balls. It's kind of just making sure if it's on your side, you're going to get it. Or if you do front and back, Jeff, if you look like you want to explain that a little bit better. You know,
Well,
tennis a
and
little
also,
better.
I would just add, in true unified, everybody who's on that team, whether it's a pair, a doubles pair, or a soccer team or whatever, everyone's an equal participant. There should not be any, giving the athlete the ball because they're the athlete. Partners can score, athletes can score. Same thing goes here on tennis. They are equal players. The only caveat would be is if the partner is significantly more experienced or higher rated than the athlete, then they want to just balance that out. But Jeff, you worked with SOI on some balancing with that whole thing. So if you wanted to add anything on that.
Yeah, I would just say, so Bob, I think it really depends on the partners. In a lot of cases, if we look at what Frederick's doing, in a lot of the cases, they recruit adult tennis players who are used to league tennis to come in and play tennis with Special Olympics Frederick County, which is great. What we will typically go to is a blended skills model, right? You want to play to the level of the athlete that you're playing with so that you're not overtaking the ball. You're not, if you're the unified partner, you're not going to be poaching at the net, right? And going crazy or anything like that. I think at level 2, in a lot of cases, to use a basketball analogy, it's very similar to PDU, kind of a player development model where actually you as a unified partner would be hitting it in a way that the other player on the other side of the net, the other athlete, would be able to, successfully keep the rally going, right? The partners are there to kind of facilitate play, keep the rally going and all that kind of stuff. As we progress up, unified partners typically take a more active role on the court, certainly not hitting winners, but what we don't want to do is have unified partners double faulting on purpose, hitting it in the net on purpose, hitting it long, losing points on purpose, and then the other end of the spectrum, just cracking winners past either of the players on the other side of the net. So just really blending it and keeping it fair for everybody.
And a big thing, not having the partners keep hitting it back and forth to each other. Make sure the athletes get involved. And again, make sure the athletes aren't just hitting it back and forth to the other athlete. We want everyone on the court to be involved as much as possible.
And that's why
Right.
Jeff doesn't play. That's why Jeff's not allowed to play, because he will do all those things. Just kidding.
Yes.
All of it.
Yeah, so it sounds like to coach them up using common sense.
Mhm.
And that was the thing I was thinking about, is that if the partners are purposefully avoiding hitting it to the other partner, that's kind of like bogus. So I think it's just common sense, which is
Yeah.
makes sense.
And we're not saying they can't hit it to the other partner, but we don't want them to only hit it to the other partner.
Yeah, I got you. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? So the rest of the slides, like I said, I'm not going to go through it, but the rest of the deck is going to be just a reference slide. So it shows a little bit more in depth into the coach requirements, coach education, sports certification, all that stuff. The code of conduct is in there again, as well as all the registration forms and all of that stuff. That's all in there. So please take a look at it. I'm not going to go through it tonight, but make sure you look at it once I send out the follow-up in the next 48 hours. But I will, BJ, with your question, I will send out a list of the counties that are participating. I'll make sure I send that out in the follow-up as well, so that you can reach out to anyone that, if you have any questions or if you want to get together with someone.
Sure, okay.
So are there any other questions about the 2021 tennis season?
Can I make two announcements?
Sure.
Announcement number one, thanks to our friends at USTA Mid-Atlantic, we received a USTA Grow the Game grant. We have sent this information out to area directors, but I thought telling tennis coaches would be good too. It's all about engaging new tennis players, unified partners, and athletes on the court. So if you are interested in expanding your existing program, adding a site, adding youth tennis as a developmental sport, anything like that, let me know. We do have, or let your area director know. We do have funds available to support equipment and uniforms and even court time. So we definitely appreciate the support of USTA Mid-Atlantic. And then the second announcement is that our great tennis clinics at JTCC will be continuing through the fall. BJ's daughter, Monica, is participating now. It's awesome. Our athletes are out there playing. The second session will start on the 7th and that registration's full. But September through November, we'll have our third session where we're gonna be able to have a few more athletes. So if you do have athletes who are interested in an additional day on court, starting in September, those will be Sundays from 3 to 5. And I'm getting registration together to send out hopefully this week or next week. We'll get that out for the September sessions, but really, really good quality on-court experience for the athletes. I think they're learning a lot. They're having a lot of fun. Really good pros at JTCC.
That's great. We
Definitely.
really appreciate it. I have a question. This is a general question
Sure.
about coaches. Is there a policy for Special Olympics that you can or cannot pay coaches? I'm just asking because right now Howard County doesn't have a tennis coach. Our tennis coaches can't do it, the ones that we had in 2019. So we don't have a head coach right now. So we're struggling. I'm just wondering, is there any kind of policy related to that?
Hey, BJ,
Yeah,
this is Jack. Let's talk offline on that.
okay.
I realize that I've been courted for many years to do it. And depending on my conflicts with golf, I think I might be able to jump in. So
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Because I was thinking maybe we could get somebody from Parks and Rec, but they would want to be paid. I was just trying to figure out policy for Special Olympics about paying.
Yeah.
but
No,
I'll take the same payment that Olympics.
okay. BJ, in answer to your question, for the community program, while we really strongly stress the value of having volunteers there is not a policy of that says you can't compensate a coach. So
Okay, super. Thank you.
Their compensation should just be the smiles of the athletes. Any other questions? And again, if you have another question that you thought of later, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer anything I can for you guys.
yeah, not a question. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for joining us tonight, but also for stepping out onto the court and providing training this upcoming season, or if you are in the midst of the season for tennis for your athletes. We're really proud that Maryland overall has been at the forefront of getting back to actual play and competition in the sports that we offer. Other states, nothing against them, they're doing the best that they can, but we've been lucky and I think and been able to do that to a somewhat greater extent than most. And it's really a tribute to the work that you do, your area leaders do, your families do, and we truly appreciate your commitment to that.
Yeah, thank you. And to echo Mike, like you just said, like we couldn't do this without you guys. I love working with you guys. You all know tennis way more than I do, so I appreciate you dealing with my lack of knowledge, but I've gotten better, I think. But no, thank you guys for everything that you do for the athletes, for Special Olympics Maryland. We couldn't do it without you, so we really appreciate everything that you do for us. So there's no other questions. We will let you go, give you back 4 minutes of your night.
Melissa and Jeff and maybe Mike, can you
Yes.
like,
Yep.
I have a question, but it doesn't need to be recorded.
Yep, so I'm gonna stop the recording. So
Does it
everyone
need
have
to
a
be, or
great
you
night.
don't want it to record it?